XDefiant isn't even out yet, and we've already gotten a matchmaking post from them, much like COD's matchmaking intel that took them 6 years of players constantly complaining to finally give us a meticulously and deviously crafted article with gaslighting and corporate doublespeak, along with cleverly misleading wording that just beat around the bush in every way and only tried to justify every reason their system is fair and doesn't suck. Trust me, we're really gonna enjoy this one. If you want to see COD get outclassed and just need to do some old school Call of Duty trash talk on Call of Duty, you've come to the right place. XDefiant's article is short and sweet, and I finished reading it in around 2 minutes. But I couldn't help but smile because it just makes COD look so dumb and XDefiant look really good. Say what you want about Ubisoft, but the XDefiant team is on top of stuff, and they're consciously trying to create a viable alternative to COD, and it's working. Let's see how the XDefiant team approaches their matchmaking talk and then compare it to how COD does it. And let me tell you, it is a night and day difference. You can clearly tell which one is written by a transparent team of passionate game devs and which one is written by a greedy corporation who is trying to shut us up and hide the truth. Within this little comparison, we're going to be looking at XDefiant quotes and then how Call of Duty handled the same idea in their post. Let's jump in. First, we know this is a hot topic in the FPS space, and in keeping with our commitment to transparency, we have put together some details for you. Now, obviously, in being a competitor with Call of Duty and other AAA shooters, XDefiant is painfully aware of this discussion surrounding modern multiplayer games, especially shooters. From the start of the game's traction, Mark Rubin, the director of the project, has promised to stay transparent with the community, unlike some of their competitors, mainly Activision. Take a look at COD's introduction. With the launch of Modern Warfare 3 Season 1 late last year, we committed to a conversation with our community about matchmaking. Now keep in mind, this was a commitment that they didn't originally make, nor did they think to even make it until the negativity surrounding the matchmaking got to be big enough to the point where even some casual fans were hopping on the sbmm/eomm sucks train. Further, the fact that this post came out 3 months after they promised the conversation was jarring on its own, and by the time they actually did it, everyone was expecting them not to and just saying there's no way they actually do it. I was genuinely incredulous when I saw that there was an actual matchmaking intel blog post. I had to pinch myself. I was flabbergasted. Anyways, Activision was forced to talk about their matchmaking because it was the subject of countless complaints. XDefiant is talking about it because they want to be transparent even before the game launches, and maybe dig on COD a little bit. This is the part that most people were paying attention for, though. The most important thing to know is there is no skill-based matchmaking in our casual playlist. We believe that no skill-based matchmaking is paramount to a fun and varied game experience in the long term. Frankly, skill-based matchmaking means that every casual game is repetitive, constantly repeating matches that are just as stressful and matched as ranked. We believe the casual playlist should be fun, and no skill-based matchmaking is the way to do that. If you want that competitive, every second counts, go all-out playstyle, you'll find our ranked mode to your liking. The XDefiant devs deserve a lot of credit for making this statement. It's unheard of to hear development teams that sound like actual gamers and not some corporate suit who doesn't know a lick about gaming. The devs clearly put an emphasis on fun and a non-stressful experience, and the main culprit for Call of Duty being not fun and super stressful is the skill measurement in its matchmaking. XDefiant's post names the exact reason why they believe matches wouldn't be fun to play, saying it's repetitive and stressful, and also tell us they feel our pain, and that they understand that sbmm is an incredibly annoying and game-ruining practice. They even went as far to say that no sbmm is paramount to a fun experience playing a game, which couldn't be more correct at this point in the FPS genre. All in all, this is the most I've ever seen a multiplayer games developers actually understand the players. Now, in contrast to that, all Call of Duty says is this: the single biggest priority with respect to multiplayer matchmaking is delivering a fun experience to our players. Yay! Alright, this is great. And then they proceed to not tell us at all any principles that go behind that statement. What do you do that ensures fun within each match? XDefiant was able to explain why their matchmaking doesn't measure skill and why and how that supports their goal. Activision kind of just says this and never explains why they make the decisions that they do at all. They say in one part that not having too big a skill gap in each lobby makes for a healthier ecosystem, but there's nothing that backs it up. Not even the player experience backs it up. We know it makes it suck more. They're just saying words to say words. XDefiant speaks with passion and understanding, whereas Activision speaks to cover their tracks. They never actually elaborate upon anything, and they just explain it in a way where we're supposed to assume it's the best possible method with no explanation. But this was the funniest part of the whole matchmaking article from COD. We often see the community refer to our matchmaking system as skill-based matchmaking. Call of Duty does consider skill, or more specifically player performance, as a component, as do most in the industry, but skill is not the dominant variable. We consider and prioritize several factors to create lobbies. Now, what's hilarious about this is that they never once identify what kind of matchmaking they actually use. They only ever deny the accusations made against them and then hilariously proceed to not provide any evidence and actually saying that the algorithm does measure skill, but with other priorities coming first. And as I've spoken about before, of course connection comes before skill. Without that, the game would be miserable to play. But the next factor after connection, filtering out every match you can play, is skill, which is skill-based matchmaking, which is technically doublespeak because they say skill is secondary to connection, but in reality, it's the ultimate factor that's filtering out these matches. It's the whole reason that Delta Ping even exists. XDefiant, however, gets much more to the point and very quickly with no further elaboration. Casual play matchmaking puts a priority on fast connection times. It will try to match latency and regions where possible. That's all they need to say. By establishing skill doesn't play a role, they can say that connection is the ultimate factor, and the implication of this statement is that they want all players to have a smooth experience. Where COD says that there are a whole heap of factors coming into play that determine your matches, which just jumble up the mess that is already their matchmaking, XDefiant names their #1 priority as connection because the others, like playlists, are obvious already. You can't match with somebody outside of the playlist you're queuing for, and COD for some reason brings up playlists as if it's such a shock. However, despite XDefiant naming the dominant variable, which is connection, they also name the list of factors that are taken into account regarding their matchmaking, and they do us one better by also putting them in order, which is something that COD evidently does not do. The complete list is below in descending order of priority. For casual play, latency, avoided players, party size, region, input device, and then platform. And I love how connection is on top and a skill measurement is nowhere in sight, and it even balances based on party sizes and if you've muted somebody or not. And by the way, there is no AI stalker weirdo RoboCop listening to our every word, muting us automatically if we say something against their woke agenda. The First Amendment is very present in XDefiant, and if you don't like what someone is saying, you can avoid and mute them yourself. You don't need an AI bot to do it for you. Also notice that throughout this whole description, they use the word prefers. This suggests that although there are preferences, obviously things may not always go according to plan. It also seems logical to deduce that perhaps the algorithm becomes more and more lenient the further down the list you go, seeing as the priority level drops. For example, it's not the end of the world if you're playing against someone on another platform or using a different control scheme. Ultimately, good connection is prioritized and these factors fall second to it. In COD, these factors like connection are tossed aside completely for the skill measurement to protect bad players, and it's no secret. COD goes on a whole tangent and throws things in an order that is meant to throw us off. Look at the order of these factors and tell me how silly this is compared to XDefiant. Connection, time to match, playlist diversity, recent maps and modes, what? Skill/performance, input device, platform, and voice chat. It's absolutely hilarious that COD can't afford to put these things in order because we know that skill is second to connection, if even that, and match time follows after that. Saying they prioritize match times and then sitting in a lobby for a full minute searching for a match on a game with 500,000 active players on it seems like a bit of a questionable detail to me. Not to mention that skill is thrown in closer to the end, in the third bracket of factors, instead of near the top where it clearly belongs. Did they think that the order of the factors was going to somehow throw us off the scent? It just shows even more that this post was to shut us up and try to cover their tracks, whereas XDefiant actually wanted to help us understand their matchmaking, and obviously roast COD in the process. Also, when XDefiant describes their ranked play, they also warn us that match times will take longer because it measures skill points and wants to get a fair and balanced match. Notice how there is no hidden MMR like COD, and XDefiant promises to match exclusively based on rank, which means we might have a ranked mode with actual integrity here, which is actually extremely rare this day and age with modern first-person shooters. XDefiant also covers team balancing, which COD never does. They say there's a skill rating for each player, but the lobbies are never formed based on those ratings. Rather, teams are simply balanced this way once the games are formed. That That is just good game design. They also address disbanding lobbies, and can you guess if COD covers that? I'll give you a hint. No, they obviously don't. Lobby persistence. In casual playlists, the default behavior of lobbies is to persist between matches. This means subsequent games will often include the same players from the previous match. Teams, however, are shuffled each match. This is awesome. So not only are lobbies going to stay together, meaning we get into games a lot faster each session, we also get the added bonus of reshuffling the team so that we can have a varied experience, even with the same players. COD never even bothered to cover why the lobbies disband, and it's pretty obvious why. Disbanding lobbies are a dead giveaway of eomm. Now hear me out. If it was only skill-based matchmaking, then lobbies wouldn't need to disband because they're balanced. No one goes from bronze to diamond level in one game, for example. So if your game ends, you won't suddenly get 10 times better than you were, and the algorithm needs to panic, oh, he's too good for this lobby now, we need to throw him into the sweat lobbies. No, that's not how it works. However, breaking the lobby apart because your matches are tailored based on your performance in each match shows that they're trying to throw you a match that changes the result you have and balance out your results. After all, their ultimate goal is to keep everyone as close to a 1 KD as possible. Everyone should kill and die at the same exact rate in their communist ecosystem. If you play well, good thing the lobby disbands so they can throw you a harder one to hopefully balance that out. It's a despicable practice. XDefiant absolutely owned COD in every way here. They say SBMM isn't fun, elaborate on the process and measurements in order of priority, what exactly they prioritize in general. They talk about disbanding lobbies, team balancing, how ranked works, and they even tell us to keep our skills sharp in the casual playlist until the ranked mode drops. They're telling us to sweat in casual. Like what? So all in all, the XDefiant team knows what's up. I don't care what anyone says about the game or the quality of it. The team is facing the right direction, and COD is definitely scared of this free-to-play game, which is going to make it a nightmare to compete with because of its lack of rigged matchmaking. Now, you can say the hype train's gone, you can say that the play test was awful, but if XDefiant is releasing the game this soon, the server test must have gone well, which means the game is probably going to be in way better shape than we think it's going to be. And because it's free, players are going to try it out. The XDefiant team actually put out a paper that was intended to be transparent and helpful to the players, and it was short and easy to read and right to the point. And Activision put out a paper that was meant to shut us up and cover their tracks using clever misleading language and gaslighting us into thinking that even COD 4 had skill-based matchmaking. Hello? It doesn't get any more pathetic than that. XDefiant is killing it right now. And whatever your opinion is about it, we can both agree that they're doing this right. But anyways, that's all I got. I'm Prime Pete. Take it easy.